Hey, let's start the show.
For Friday, June 18th, 2021. Welcome to This Is Only a Test, the official podcast of Tested.com. Hello and welcome to the podcast this week. I am Norm, your host. And if you're watching the video, you'll already notice something is a little bit different. Is it that we're recording in the evening? It's dark outside. Is it tested after dark? It looks like a variation, like some type of variant. Maybe variant is not the right word to use in this day and age. It's popping up in the global lexicon a little bit. But I am joined by not our usual co-hosts this week. Jeremy and Kishore both could not make it, couldn't even do a duo cast. And that's why we're recording a little bit late. We're putting this out on Friday instead of Thursday, but we have some familiar faces. First of all, we got Bill Doran. Bill, you're back here second time in like 3 weeks.
I know, right? Jeez. And I was like, I can show off the porcupine, but I realized I showed this off last time.
But you did.
Since then, the video came out over on the Punished Props Academy YouTube channel. If anyone wants to go check that out, how we made this whole thing out of foam. I did, however, I don't have a picture or anything, but I did recently build a wall mount on it for this, which is very exciting, so that it can be displayed without poking anything.
I want to talk about display strategies, because I know a lot of prop makers, everyone has different stuff, and over the years accumulating the things you've made and the things your friends have made becomes a thing to have to stress out about.
Yes.
Almost.
Yes.
And speaking of things you've made and things to make, we have a very special guest joining us, occupying the third chair. It's Joel Telling, the 3D printing nerd. Joel, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, what's up? How's it going? This is fantastic. This is exciting. I mean, I love you both.
Yeah.
Oh, lots of love coming at you from the Doran household, from the kitty cats too. They're around.
Aww.
Joel, I know we've corresponded a bunch online, and I think the last time we saw each other in person, maybe it was a Maker Faire, but we had you in studio for longtime listeners of the show and viewers of the channel.
Right. That's right.
You visited, gosh, it must have been 2016 or something like that.
Maybe 2017.
2017, yeah. But Simone invited you over to help assemble the Prusa.
The Prusa Mark II.
The Mark II, right. I was like,
that's right.
It wasn't even the i3. Yeah. And that is a kit. And so you spent a couple of days doing that. And of course, since then, the world has changed for you. The channel's exploded. So for people who don't know, you run a hugely successful 3D printing channel. And maybe we can start there, because we're throwing the format out the window. We're not doing our usual segments. We're just gonna go for riff for an hour and catch up and with everyone. But Joel, maybe start with you, because both you guys have run channels for a long time, and we do get a lot of questions about people who want to start their own YouTube channels, maybe get into the maker community that way. And both of you are so entrenched there, but both of you also have had your channels evolve over the years because of type of content, the type of things you guys cover. Just from a 3D printing standpoint, how has the channel grown? What's been some of the favorite things you've done? Just tell us about the channel, Joel.
Okay, well, let's see. I started off with my channel just because I wanted to show people the passion I have for 3D printing at the time. And I thought if I could explain things in interesting ways and showcase really cool stuff, then my passion would carry it, and people would get interested and excited and hopefully learn about this thing that I love. And that's how we started. I literally just started because I wanted to chase the kids around the yard with a GoPro. And if you hold a GoPro, it kind of wiggles and wobbles. And so I used OpenSCAD to create a GoPro camera rig. And the goal was to show people how I did it so they could make their own. And then people started subscribing and they started to want to know more stuff. And so I was printing more things and I would show it, or I was talking about machines and how to fix them. And it just sort of it just sort of went from there. It's really, really hard to look back and say, like, I had this specific trajectory in mind and I just wanted to take it a certain way. It just sort of evolved into still the passion that I'm trying to showcase, but it just evolved into a place where I want to educate and entertain and show off really cool stuff. And so at least we've maintained that heart. But now, I mean, I have a separate studio space. I have a producer. I have a cameraman.
Wow.
I've got just machines coming out the ears. And how I met Bill, it was because of my channel. I did a video where I showcased printing a few of Ray's blasters. And I got an email from Bill. He's like, "Hey, Joel." Now when I think of it, I think about it in Bill's voice. It's just like, "Hey, Joel," and he told me about his channel and how he made one, and gave me the reference, and we just became friends. And hopefully we'll get barbecue again one day.
Yes, soon, very soon.
You guys are both Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, Joel's like 30 minutes north of me.
That's right. Yeah,
and somehow a fan in Australia sends us Tim Tams all the time. And,
oops, the Tim Tam Slam.
Yeah. So this one has your name on it, Joel. And
I'll be right there.
I've been hanging on to it for the entire pandemic, and I did not eat it. I promise. Soon, since are you fully vaccinated, Joel? Because I'm fully
vaccinated. My wife, kids, and myself are fully vaccinated.
Well, then
so
we need to eat these Tim Tams together.
We should do a Tim Tam stream. I think
we got to explain this for people, because I know we have listeners out over in Australia, and we've received Tim Tams as well. But it's a cookie or like a wafer, right, or some type of snack that you're supposed to consume with coffee,
right? Yeah,
but the insides are kind of the hot coffee. So if you bite off two ends and you suck the coffee through the bar, the candy bar. The internals melt with the hot coffee and make it taste wonderful.
Yes.
Right. You use it almost as a straw because as a filling, but the filling then dissolves and the whole thing crumbles and you got to eat it all, but then becomes like, it's like a reverse binding element.
That's right.
Awesome.
It's so tasty too. It's honestly probably one of the best things you can have.
There were I was sent other Tim Tams for me, and I ate all of those.
I was just going to say, those don't exist anymore, do they?
Yeah. Now they're mint ones with dark chocolate on the outside and mint in the middle. So good.
I have to confess, because here's a little behind the scenes. Bill used to come down to the Tested Studio. We did a bunch of our model making videos and painting videos and a whole series of this stuff. And there was one video that for one reason or another, I don't know if it was corrupt footage or it got lost in some pipeline, but we never got a chance to publish. And it featured you, Joel, tangentially.
What?
Bill, do you remember when you came down?
Wait, let me guess. Is it the squirt gun?
Not the squirt gun.
No. Okay. Go ahead then.
It was the tiny statuary diorama.
That's
we made.
Right.
So we did a whole model making video, and at some point we're going to see if we can find this footage. It'll be like, from the archives, never before seen, a whole piece, like where Bill and I spent a day building tiny dioramas. The whole thing was using like a prefab model train parts, including like walls and terrain and stuff, to build. I think the intention was maybe to build a statuary display, and Bill made one to scale, like HO scale, and at the center was a 3D printed Joel Telling.
That's amazing.
It was the
you have to find
Joel
this.
Bot, I believe, right?
The Joel Bot, sure. Let's see, I got one here.
I must have taken a photo of it. Was it
regardless? That one? Yes, it was like this. I'm not sure if it was painted like that. Even if we can't find that footage, or if somehow we don't get a chance to publish it at some point, we have, I think, the finished construction, the diorama.
Oh, we gotta
get that up to you. We gotta put it. We gotta photograph that. It's back in the studio. We're going back into the studio a little more on the regulate now. So next time I'm in, I'll make sure to at least grab a picture and tweet it out for listeners of the show.
I don't even know where to look. Somewhere on my phone. I swear I must have taken a photo of it before I left.
Right.
You don't fly to San Francisco, build something, paint it, and then fly back home without taking a photo of it.
But yeah, Joel, so you're saying, doing this channel, kind of like all our journeys are nonlinear. Sounds like, the way you got from there to here, just kind of navigating it, going with the flow, doing really entertaining stuff. But in terms of, format wise, you're doing, seems like more live streams now. They're in terms of the printers, like over the past 10 years, we saw the waves, the ebbs and flows of the marketplace of printers, with a big rise of all these FDM companies, first stateside, then internationally, then with the rise of the SLA printers. What's the thing that gets you excited these days, and what are you keeping eyes out for, when you decide what to cover?
Well, let's touch first on the live stream part, because you specifically mentioned that. And I like to call it almost 3D printer skydiving. So in the radio world, there's radio skydiving, and it's to test if the dump button works. And people can swear into their microphone and hit the dump button. And, the skydiving, the parachute is the dump button. And so if your parachute doesn't work, then obviously bad things happen. And so with streaming, what I like to do is get a retail package from a printer manufacturer and open it up and build it, assemble it, set it up, and get a first print started. And that's why I call it 3D printer skydiving, because we never know what's going to happen. The goal with that, though, is to show people that there is this process that has to happen, even for me, who's done this hundreds and hundreds of times. And so it's almost like it's a relational dance. People understand what's going on, and I'm trying to do things. And if I do something wrong, the chat yells at me. But what it provides is concrete evidence of the state of the machine when I've received it, because I'm displaying this publicly. And so when I do my review of the machine, no one can say that I was shipped a cherry-picked unit, or no one can say that it must have arrived broken out of the box. The exact condition out of the box is known because I've showcased this publicly. And so what I try to do that. Plus it's fun because you get to interact with people. Totally. But as far as things I'm looking for or what I'm choosing to showcase, I it's a mix of things. And so I do like the live streams, and I do like the machine reviews, but just machine review after machine, just, one right after the other. It can get a little bit tedious. And so I try to pepper in cool projects, or if there are things I need to take care of, like maintenance and repair, I'll film little videos around those, because if I need to do it, there's a good chance other people need to do it. And so why not have that sort of evergreenish content out there that people can always go and search for? But what I find interesting is that the consumer side is pretty heavily covered by many, many different creators. But on the industrial and the professional side, they're still in that that state of blogs and vlogs and magazines and written word. If you go to a trade show, it's a bunch of people in suits being excited about their stuff to other people in suits. It's not really approachable by the people who are growing up tinkering in their garage and then wanting to work in this industry. And so what I've been trying to do over the past couple of years is integrate a little bit more into the professional side, where these machines might cost $1 million or more dollars. Wow. And talk to the companies at these fairs, at these conventions, at these places, but still, in my hoodie or dressed as me, and talking with them, not about the bullet points that they're trying to cover or the talking points they've remembered, but having a conversation with a human about why they think this is really cool, and what would people need to know who want to work in this industry or work with this machine need to know. And it's been a joy. And as an example, in 2019, I went to the Rapid TCT show, which is a very non-consumer show, because you have machines there and companies with millions of dollars kind of showcasing. Imagine CES level of displays, but specifically for industrial 3D printers.
Yep.
And I went
big
there.
HPs and
Exactly. So I went there, and in one day I talked to 15 different companies, and we put together 3 different episodes, and those got, I think, 1.5 million views. People were really, really excited about that, because no one else was covering it in a way that made it exciting, or that made it approachable. And so that's what we're trying to do going forward. Now that stuff is starting to open up a little bit more, is to go back to these shows and cover it in the way that we know how, to get the people excited and to get for the kids or the young adults that are tinkering in their garage or in their STEAM workshops or their maker spaces or whatever, give them the information to arm them and be prepared for kind of what's in their future. And so that's kind of the big thing. I mean, I could talk about cool materials coming down the way or printers that can move really fast and high quality, but at the end of the day, in the next 5 years, the industrial additive side is going to be massive compared to what it is today. And we need to have a prepared workforce who needs to go and work there. And so what I'm trying to do is kind of prepare the kids or prepare the young adults for the jobs that don't quite exist yet.
Yeah, and all that generation who's all dabbling in the MSLA printers and and engaging in the community in a hobbyist level, they're building the skills to be a technician. But what it means to be a technician, there's a level of professionalism, and there's a whole universe of
That's right.
things that we don't have to consider, whether it's from safety, reliability, and repeatability and scale and all these things that work at an industrial level. And I think it's audacious of you to cover it that way, because it's tough, because so often that business side, that B2B side can be so boring, because the thing that differentiates one company from another might not just be the tech, but it's support. It's like the most boring things, right? It's like reliability and things are just so opaque.
There was one time I remember I went to this one booth, and you could tell the guy, it was, I forget the company, but I mean, multi-million dollars. And you could tell he didn't want to talk to me because he didn't know the consumer side. It wasn't important to him. It just wasn't where I was going. But the marketing guy at the company made sure that I got to talk to him, and we started talking, and you could tell his stern face started to turn like that. His lips started to smile a little bit when we started talking about passion and what it meant to him, and how does he see the future kind of being shaped by this. And you could tell, I mean, we were hitting on things that he didn't prepare for. And I think that's important, because then he spoke from his mind and his passion and his interests. And it was no joke. So that was the first day of the show. The second day of the show, he went to find me because he was excited to tell me he bought one of the machines from Creality at their booth. And it was his first filament printer. And he was going to take it home and assemble it with his kids and learn about it. And I was like, it was all because I chatted with him. And so we could do that over and over and over again. And it's just really exciting.
That's fabulous.
Awesome. Both of you guys are also unique in that you're known for a certain thing, like 3D printing for you, Joel. Bill, in terms of the fabrication world, you've published so many books on like foam fabrication, but that's not a thing that defines you. You guys are also very multidisciplinary, work in multiple skills, multiple materials, and I want to hear from you guys about how hard it is to try to get out of the thing that you're known for, and what are the other things that you integrate with the thing that you're known for that excites you, and what are the new tools and materials that you work with. Like Bill, you fabricate, you can fabricate from anything, or you can resin cast, you can sculpt, you can digitally sculpt. Like, I actually know you better as a modeler, a digital modeler, than as a foam fabricator.
What's funny is that, like, there's a period of time where I was worried I was just going to be known as the guy that cast a ton of Mass Effect guns. Right. Like, for a year or two, that's what I thought. I was like, that's it. I'm just Mass Effect gun guy. I'm just casting, because for a while, it's mostly how I earned a living, actually. And then we started doing the foam thing, and I wrote a few books on it. And sometimes I think that I'm like, is that it? I'm just going to be the foam guy, which there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. I'm very happy to be the foam guy. We've done great things with foam. My porcupine is right here. But yeah, I love that in my back pocket, I'm like, and I went to school for 3D modeling, and I can just do, I think actually my Vash gun. Yeah, my Vash gun is right behind my huge head right there. I don't know. I'd love being a Swiss Army knife. I do actually very much consider myself a generalist. I don't consider myself a master of any of the crafts I do, but I really do enjoy having that Swiss Army knife ready to go. I also know a couple of good card tricks. So
magician as well.
Yeah, from my bartending days, that's how I earned tips. I did card tricks. So every once in a while, I like to remember I can do that. Yep.
Of the card variety.
Pull one of those card tricks out just to surprise someone. Myself, mostly.
And then when you're making content, when you're choosing, what type of content that you and Britt make, the foam stuff, do you find resistance from people when you veer away from that, or you find that has to be an anchor point for the projects?
The only time I would say the only time we get resistance from people is when we use something that's a little more technical, like if we use a laser cutter, let's say. We always go well out of our way to say, you can cut this out with a scroll saw or a jigsaw or by hand with a coping saw. I own a laser, going to use the laser. So, as long as you put a disclaimer in that, usually people don't get too bummed out. But occasionally you see people just saying like, I wish you did simpler projects. And I don't want to do simpler projects. Like that Vash gun is like 38 parts or something. And I want more parts. But overall, people just seem pretty stoked to, at the very least, see a really cool build.
Yeah.
And then with the Vash gun, I sell the files so people can go make their own if they want, which is even better because then I get pictures on Twitter of people making my Blade Runner gun or Vash gun or whatever. Or even better, someone, they watched a video on how to make armor out of foam and then they went and made a different set of armor out of foam and it looks amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's mostly what I see, mostly what I focus on, seeing people just excited to follow along on whatever project they're doing.
And following along, I mean, that's, I think, where you find that tension is it whether they're following along as a tutorial, it's Punish Props Academy. You guys are well known because of the books, of the thing, accessibility is a big part of appeal. But then there's also, like you said, that your desire to just kind of go all out and make the thing you want. And we have that too, Adam started off making all these props and costumes and going the traditional prop maker way, right? Casting pieces, and maybe we'll 3D print a part, but now he's all about machining.
Yeah.
And now everything has to be machined because it feels more real, and it's hard to go back to the thing that might be more accessible once you achieve that part in your own path. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I would say if Bill could be in front of a bar set and have a bar-based channel, I would be the first subscriber.
Punish Hops Academy.
Punish Hops.
Yes.
I like it. Well, if you lived in the town of Oneonta, New York from 2004 to 2006, I might have served you a drink. And other various bars from 2000 to 2004. I was a bit of a freelancer.
Joel, how about you? I mean, going outside of 3D printing, I know you just got your Glowforge in for laser cutting. Like when you talk about the type of excitement you want to bring to new makers, do you feel like you can take the channel beyond printing?
That's a really good question because historically, I would say I cannot. And I've tried. I've done content with lasers before. I had a full spectrum laser. Now I have the Glowforge laser. I named it Bob, the Pew Pew machine, because why not? I sort of pigeonholed myself with a channel name of 3D printing nerd. It's really hard
to specific.
I was excited about 3D printing and I was a nerd. I was working at Adobe at the time and I'm like, I'm just going to make a channel. What should I call it? How about 3D printing nerd? Hey. Yeah.
Or if you put props in the name of your channel, you kind of got to keep making props.
You got to make props. You got to make props.
Yeah.
But you didn't put, your channel isn't called Punished Foam Props.
No, it's true. It's true.
So
you make all kinds of props.
You can use your laser cutter. Here's the thing. So it's interesting. If I machine reviews and technical, anytime I can badmouth a machine for specific things, the audience, that usually gets the most views. I hate to say it, but if I'm negative about something, that usually gets the most views and I hate it. if I do a machine review and it's a popular machine, or if I'm like the first, if I get a good look at it, I get the views. If I do a project with 3D printing, and not a technical thing, but a project, doesn't always get the views. Or if I use a laser in a project, there's some hurdles to get past. There are people who love it. I get the comments where people are like, thank you for showing me this. This is wonderful. What a great episode. I love this. The joy, the passion you're showing is inspiring. And then it just won't get shown to as many people. So it's one of those things where I think I just have to keep at it because there's value in it. And you don't have to own a Glowforge to use a laser. You can get a less expensive laser. And there are other ways to cut wood, as Bill has mentioned. I don't know the right course of action, but it's content that is near and dear to my heart, and I enjoy it, and I feel good when I make it. So I'm just going to keep doing it.
Yeah.
It's
hard. If you own a laser cutter, which I do, I bought mine a long time ago, and I have enjoyed owning it and using it. Every problem you have is viewed through the lens of, I own a laser cutter that could solve this problem. So you want to use it so much.
It's so true. And I think that's one of the most amazing things, whether it's a home-based laser cutter or a 3D printer, or even one of those CNC mills that you could have, what from Carbide or Inventables that you could have in the home. Yes, they're expensive. I think they're absolutely luxury items, and 3D printers are the obsession or the exception, where I feel like the industry has been commoditized enough where it doesn't feel like a splurge to recommend go spend $200 to $300 on a 3D printer. You're going to get actually that much value out of. But a laser cutter, we're still talking about in the thousands. A good CNC mill, if you're getting a ready run unit, you're still talking about thousands. But that luxury and completely upfront, like we're privileged to have these devices.
Oh yeah.
But the convenience and the creativity it opens to have your home be the makerspace, like that's. I don't know if you could pay for that. Like that's just it's
especially if you ever have to cut out a lot of something. Like
right.
If you ever looking at a parts list and it says a number in the hundreds and you have to make it from scratch and you're like, I don't know, that's gonna take me a week. Oh no, I own a laser, so it'll take me no time at all. That's amazing.
It allows you to think, digitally. And and compartmentalize your design process. It's repeatable. Iteration becomes that much faster when you have these computer, the CNC devices essentially. And we went from 10 years ago where there were plenty of makerspaces, and there still are plenty of makerspaces, and we still encourage people to go to them because they're wonderful places to learn. But I just like having the machines at home where I don't have to wait till the next day to travel somewhere or to get something cut or printed, where I can send it in overnight and it's Christmas morning every morning to have a print, and something milled out or something.
Now, Joel, you what you could do is start a second channel and just call that the laser cutter nerd. just
laser nerd.
But I bet though, if you had a channel just focused on, you would get everyone that loves lasers.
Well, I have a secondary channel. I started it one day. It's called Technically Nerdy, because that way you can approach all of the things that are technically nerdy, which lasers are technically nerdy. So here's the thing. So I've had to use a second editor at times. His name is Mickey. He works for ABC. And every once in a while, I use him to punch up some of the episodes. He was visiting Seattle, so I met him for the first time in person. And at some point, the conversation went towards video editors and what he uses. And he talked about them all. And he said, "You know what I love? Final Cut X." And I was like, "What? Are you serious?" He's like, "No joke. Final Cut X, $299. It's the best. It's the best." And so he sort of threw down the challenge. So what I'm going to do is make a bunch of laser content with the Glowforge, doing custom projects and cool stuff. And I'm going to edit it fully in Final Cut X. And I'm just going to upload it to Technically Nerdy, and I'm going to see how it performs.
There you go.
So it's not only will be different topics, but the look and feel of it might be different because the workflow is different. Is it? I mean, you're an Adobe guy, so I understand the affinity for Premiere. And it's also funny that both of you guys both came from like giant, the Microsoft for you, Bill, and Adobe for you, Joel. Is it Final Cut X or 10? Because I always was chastised for not calling it Final Cut 10.
Well, I believe it is whatever the person you're talking to says it is, because I don't care. Honestly.
Yeah, no, honestly, yeah.
I don't care.
It's almost I don't have to update Premiere again and break all my project files.
Oh, goodness.
That's a really interesting point about the workflows. And I do want to talk about both their workflows a little bit. Anecdotally, like some of the YouTube channels I follow, the really successful ones, a lot of them have secondary channels where they go behind the scenes. And there was one, there's a guy who reviews toys, like hot toys, and I'm a big fan of those figures. And this guy over in, I think he's based out of Australia, but all his stuff is filmed and edited on an iPhone. And if there's a consistency to it, I mean, I get the filmed on iPhone because we film a lot of our stuff on iPhone too, and the camera sensor is fine. You get good stabilization. You actually get a good look for good macro stuff. That's better than what you get with a full frame DSLR without all the heavy gear. But the fact that you have these content creators not only shooting but also preferring to edit on using, I think it's not even like iMovie. There's an app. I downloaded it because I wanted to try it. Let's see what's it called? I'll have to figure out the name. But basically, edited with timelines just on the phone, and then sent directly to YouTube, thumbnail and all, with audio right there on like a Rode mic. Like it blew my mind, and I haven't been so shook.
There's a beauty to it, though. There's a beauty
absolutely.
to it.
There's it's all about how the content creators like you guys, like you have to think about the content you make, and you also the whole time have to be thinking about how you're producing it and how you're filming it, how you're editing it. Everything is encapsulated at the same time in your head, right? And especially if you're self-producing a live stream. Yeah.
The thing you just said, like what you just talked about, doing those reviews, you shoot it all on this device, and then you edit it all on this device, and then you publish it all from this device. So you're not having to take memory cards out. You're not having to sync footage.
There's an elegance.
Man.
Absolutely is an elegance to it.
When you were talking about that, I'm just like, oh, that sounds so good.
But again, like if you think of like a traditional, like Hollywood production environment, or even like an environment where you have to work with multiple collaborators, right? And like we do, like we have multiple editors and we have a whole workflow where we have to back up storage in a certain way, make sure there's redundancies, make sure everyone's on the same versions of stuff. Like there's extra layers of logistics and, technical bureaucracy to make it work. But that's the power of YouTube, is that anyone can do it. And if they can grasp all of that technical know-how or learn it on the fly, you don't have to go to film school, but as long as you are committed to iterating and learning, right, the tools are there, and you just got to buy a phone.
I think my workflow is going to be closer to Norm's than Bill's, I bet. What is your workflow, Bill?
We it's pretty simple. Most of the time Britt is filming. We have our GH5. We do most of our filming on that, but we have a couple of other cameras we might use as well. But we do a lot of not formal pre-production or anything, but we discuss the whole video before we even start filming, so that we're both on the same page for what we're trying to accomplish with the gist of the video. And then we just plan it shot by shot, kind of. We'll discuss how we're going to open the video, especially if we're going to do a skit. So for the Valheim video, we got some footage from we went a little overboard on that one. We got footage from the game. We had this gimmick we wanted to do, where we ended up sailing our boat off the end of the ocean, which was great. And I knew we were going to do that skit, so that when we filmed the intro, halfway through it, I paused to insert the footage, and it all worked out really well. So, but we did do that all verbally. And then we go to the next shot. Well, what do we have to accomplish with this? Well, we're going to be cutting out the thing. All right, we're going to film it like that. All right, and go. And then we get a little bit. We've actually gotten really lean with how much footage we end up with at the end of the day because we pretty much just discuss every shot before we do it. Actually, it's fun watching Adam in the shop when Gunther's just trying so hard to keep up with him because Adam just doesn't stop.
We have to ask, like, hold on, do that again, so we get two angles.
Yeah. We pause frequently, and it's mostly just the one camera, and then that all gets dumped on this machine here, and we have a Synology drive right there to do all of our backing up and stuff, and then Britt does the editing.
Wow.
And I go out and do photos and beauty shots and all that.
Wow.
And that takes a long time.
It does.
Everything I just said. But in the end, I have one of these things and a whole video to prove that I did it.
It looks great.
I
love your videos. You guys do such a good job.
Oh, thanks, Joel.
It's as if I'm over at a friend's house and we've known each other forever, and I just ask you a question and you take me through a process.
And I don't stop talking for about 45 minutes.
Exactly. Yeah. Just like real life, right?
It's like you have a podcast.
Yeah. Joel, I have a relic here from our collaboration with Captain Disillusion. I made two of these. In the video I cast. Whoa, that is reflective.
Rightly so.
Wow. All right.
I love it.
The first one I pulled wasn't quite as deep, so I pulled a second, and that left me with two, so I kept this one.
That's great. I loved how he used it on the video too.
It's one of those things where you send a prop off to someone else and they use it in their video, and you're like, I hope it does exactly what it's supposed to do, because if it didn't, then that would suck. And it did perfect. It was exactly it felt so great. I've had other situations go the opposite direction.
I'm sure.
Not a horrible thing, but I did some work with Frank for the Lawbreakers commercial, and I spent 2 days on this really cool gun that you never see in the trailer.
Oh no!
Wait, was that the one that was like CG marked up or marked for or made to look like it was a real thing on the camera? Because I know
I made a stand-in rifle that was just painted green. That was very
So it's
like
for
a
CG.
cutout.
Right.
This was a fully painted.
Oh wow.
Yes, in fact, I painted two of them.
Hey everyone, Norm here. Before we continue, I want to let you know that this week's episode of the podcast is made possible with support from Storyblocks. If you're a content creator, you need a Storyblocks membership. Storyblocks helps you bring all your stories to life without sacrificing your vision due to time, budget, or resources. Tell the best version of your story with affordable subscription plans and tools that scale to meet your needs. Storyblocks' ever-growing library consists of 4K HD footage, After Effects, and Premiere Pro templates, music, images, sound effects, and more. Their unlimited all-access plan gives you unlimited downloads and assets are royalty-free, so you can use your downloaded content for commercial and personal use. Storyblocks' Restock initiative is here to change the landscape of stock media by partnering with creators in underrepresented communities to build collections that represent those communities in an authentic light. Storyblocks' first cohort of filmmakers features the layered experiences of BIPOC and the LGBTQI+ community. Storyblocks will also be launching Queer Spaces and Faces. This initiative will feature 6 new contributors from the LGBTQI+ community, each creating a collection of 50 video clips that feature their community authentically and relatably. Explore that library and subscribe today at storyblocks.com/onlyattest. Once again, that's storyblocks.com/onlyattest. Now back to the show. Well, I know both of you are gearheads, technically nerdy also.
I see what you did there.
I would love to hear about any new gear that you guys have been testing. And anything that you guys are interested in, or things that are getting you excited that you recently got to review or purchase yourself.
Or just maybe this thing that I just purchased that has its own
what
tripod.
Is that, Bill?
I got a new camera lens. Whoa.
What did you, Bill, what did you get? Is that a 400?
It's the Sony 200 to 600.
Oh.
Sorry, it's a relatively
Jeez.
new lens. I think it came out in 2019, and relatively affordable. I would say. I think I got mine for around $2,000.
Oh, that's not bad at all.
Shipped used, but it looks like it's in perfect condition.
Yeah.
This is to take photos of animals that are far away. I have been an avid photographer my whole life. This year I bought the Sony A7R III specifically just for stills. It's my first full frame camera. I have this 90mm macro on it that I adore for taking pictures of hummingbirds and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, I bet that's awesome.
It's so good. We have a hummingbird feeder right by a window, so when we're watching TV, I'll sit there with my camera, and if a hummingbird comes by, I can snap them.
That's perfect.
But in our neighborhood, there are a pair of Merlin falcons, these tiny, adorable falcons that are in a little bit of a gang war with the crows right now. But they have some trees they jump behind, and I'm trying to. Now I have this monster of a lens, so I can take some photos. I want to see if I can get some of those guys, and then of course lots of other animals out in the world. But,
Of course.
starting practicing around the house with bunny rabbits and squirrels and woodpeckers. And the moon. I took a shot of the moon.
Astrophotography, absolutely, right?
Yeah, I bet by the next time there's some sort of astral event like an eclipse or something, I bet I own a telescope by then.
Well, you can get an extender which will stop it down because you don't need that. You want to stop it down for how bright, crazy that moon is.
Yeah.
But I've always wanted to have the opportunity to shoot one of those low moons, right? Like the like the Zelda blood moon when it's right over horizon, and I guess it's hilly enough over to the northwest that you could get some really nice foreground background with trees and buildings.
I saw
some great photos of the most recent eclipse a couple weeks ago, and I was like, I kind of wanted to do that. But there will be more. Now I'm equipped. So that's what I've been excited about. Putting a lot of frames through this camera, getting my photographer legs under me again, and buying some more gear to be able to take lots of pretty pictures.
It's easily to get obsessed and dive deep.
It really is. So, well, for me and my cameraman who lives like a mile from me, he is a super nutty photography gearhead too. So what we have in the studio is just stupid. We've got 2 Blackmagic Cinema 6Ks, 1 4K, like 2 Sony A7S IIIs, 2 R5s from Canon.
Ooh, wow. Nice. That's a lot of gear. So when you say stupid, you mean like stacked?
Like stupid stacked, yeah. I picked up a C70 recently. I went to a local camera shop to see if they had any. They're like, short supply, and we don't have any. I was like, all right, maybe you'll have some later. And so then I was at my son's baseball practice a while ago, and they had one in stock, and I'm like, oh, this is awesome. Okay, I'm going to think about it. And I got home, and it listed as out of stock. And I was like, I missed it. And so I called, and I said, I saw it was in stock. I don't know. Can you check the back room? Guy went away on the phone for like 5 minutes. He comes back, and he goes, guess what? Someone before you called canceled their pre-order. We have one. I was like, I'll be there. And so I just went and grabbed it. It was serendipitous, right? Nice. I had to. Like the moon aligned with the sun and the stars and the sky. So I picked it up, and it's fantastic. The C70 is easily probably one of my favorite like run and gun video cameras. I'm visiting Luke at Out of Darts again, and it's going to be the C70 that we use to film.
Oh, fantastic!
Yeah,
boy, he is cooking down there in
super
southern Washington State.
He moved out when we visited him. He was in his garage.
Yeah,
he moved out to a bigger facility, outgrew that facility, and moved into an even bigger facility now.
Yeah. That's great. That's awesome. Yeah. For those that don't know, Luke does an Out of Dart channel all about Nerf mods, and he has a warehouse where he sells like 3D printed Nerf mods you can buy and put them on your Nerf gun to make them better and cooler.
I think he's running about 70 Prusa printers now.
Yeah, and he has this huge farm. It's this crazy farm of printers. It is something to behold. We saw it in his garage when he had like 20 of them.
Yeah,
which was also
more
insane.
Now.
And I guess, that conversation we were having a while ago, a couple episodes ago, Bill, about like the benefits of FDM or the purpose of FDM in a world of SLA is this type of manufacturing. The fact that you can have, an array of machines just churning out safely parts that you can sell.
I remember too, like 10 years ago, when I thought, 3D printing, it's good for, like prototyping, right? But you wouldn't print like hundreds of stuff on that, would you? Or hundreds of things. And it turns out, you can do that too.
Yeah, you can.
And if you buy a handful of machines, then you literally have a factory in your garage. And I think that's incredible.
Oh, man. That's or you have the belt machine from Creality, and it just spits out 100 parts, one right after the other.
Have you both had experience with that machine?
I have not.
The CR30, is that right?
Yeah, the CR30. Bill, I should bring one to you to play with.
Okay.
Imagine
the first time.
With the continuous print, like if you design an 8-foot sword, it can print an 8-foot sword in one piece. Well, two halves essentially.
What do you think? What do you think the absolute biggest sword is we can print out of that, Joel? Like, it seems like
choose your anime.
So
10 feet. Is there a limit? I'm saying, like, is there some sort of, when we hit the absurd level, will there be some sort of weird limit where the whole machine tips over because like there's too much sword or something? I don't know.
You have to keep putting up like sawhorses so the material can keep gliding out. The guy that helped him build it, or that helped with the idea, Carl, he was the one that did the White Knight belt printer a few years ago at the Midwest Rep Festival that everybody was really excited about. He had one of the prototype ones, and he did like a 30-foot print. It was just like a square tube. But I remember he took it outside and held it up, and it was just, far on either side of his hands, and he's holding it up.
Give me a sense of what the slicer looks like for that. Like, how is it oriented? When you drop a model that size in, it can't just be a traditional bed that it looks like that's how it's represented.
So visually, in a slicer, you've got X, Y, and Z or Z is your height.
Yeah.
So visually, you have to. It's really hard since X is one way, but Z and Y kind of correlate because of the angle. Right. Visually, Y is infinite. So in your slicer, Y is infinite. So when you lay down a sword, it extends in
sideways.
Y.
So you think of it as sideways as opposed to how tall it is. It's how long it is.
Kind of. Yeah, in a way. It's like how tall it is. Or how tall long.
Because it's still going that direction in the way it's printed.
Yes, that's right. And then when you slice it, it's assuming that 45-degree angle. And so imagine, and that's why the belt is Z. So if you imagine in a standard machine, you've got X, Y, and Z or Z. Imagine you're making the first layer, and then the second layer is just offset by the angle that the print head is. And so it's just like if you were to take the G code from a belt printer and look at it in Simplify 3D or Prusa Slicer or whatever, it would look like this weird diagonal shape. And it's just because each layer is offset by the amount of the angle. It's crazy.
And so you have like built-in aliasing into in the print quality because of that angle, which you'd smooth out or whatever, but like that's something you factor in as a byproduct of that design.
It works.
So no problem. Like, you put 30-foot thing in there and it'll just, okay, sure. This is how many layers.
The problem is if you have it like my room behind me, it's what, 10 feet, 12 feet. And if you have the machine at one end and you're printing a 20-foot thing, that's not going to end well.
Yeah.
That's why you got to print chainmail. Just do nothing but interlock pieces that just
and you can do that too.
That sounds really cool.
So they for Marlin, the 3D printed firmware, Scott, he's one of the maintainers. He implemented a repeat command, so you can just put it's just like a repeat block in the G code, and so you can do like interlocking things and just have it go for infinity.
That's
there
cool.
You go. Nonstop. Just keep on feeding filament, and then someone just trims and takes your material nonstop. Wow, an endurance test. That'd be really cool to see on that. How long can you continually print some chainmail on
this
a
is
CR30.
this is what sports are going to look like in the
That's
future.
right. That's right. We had one where we, my friend, he had a CR30 and he had one from another company and he was printing swords and he pointed them at each other. And so the 3D printers were sword fighting.
Okay. Crossing those streams.
Sports.
Wow. I know we originally wanted to find some time to talk about the Loki show.
Oh,
but
yeah.
I know we maybe we'll stab a little bit. You guys have been watching Disney Plus, the Loki show?
Yeah. I watched
good.
first 2 episodes today.
So we're not going to spoil the second episode. I do want to get your opinions on it, and we're going to definitely, for listeners of the pod, talk with Jeremy and Kishore about it when they get back. But let's talk about the first episode.
Okay.
And generally, your impressions. I'm assuming you guys are both Marvel fans, have caught up with MCU, watch WandaVision, watch Falcon and Winter Soldier. What did you think of the first episode? And we'll go spoiler free, but just tonally and meeting expectations. And, with the general knowledge that this is about the Loki that appeared in Endgame in the past, circa 2012, the first Avengers film, escaping with the Tesseract and then finding himself in a peculiar situation.
Right. Yeah, there's so many. Oh man, it's such. Starting over. If I was trying to write that story, it sounds like it would be really difficult to pull off because this is a character whose, I guess, fate we already know, right? And your brain tells you, well, in that story, he can't change any. Those movies are done filming. They can't change anything. He can't have any impact anymore on the story. So I was very curious to see how they were gonna figure that out, and I think they did a pretty good job of it, of making me interested in that character again, and making him able to do many cool, fun things that tell a really fun story without necessarily having to
retcon
exactly.
Exactly.
In the movies.
They're so famously they do in the comics. What do you think, Joel?
I adore this show. I love the interaction that Loki has with Owen Wilson's character. I think I want a show of just Owen Wilson's Mobius character. His day-to-day actions. It would just be wonderful. Their relationship.
I think his official name is Mobius M. Mobius.
Mobius M. Mobius. That's right. Also, the little animated clock, Miss Minutes, and the animation they did in that first episode of describing things and how variants work and stuff. I thought that was brilliant. And that talking clock. Like, how does Disney not have a warehouse full of these clocks, like working actual Miss Minutes clocks that are clocks, and they talk to you? How do they not have that?
The actor for that is Tara Strong. Who's
That's
a
right.
famous voice actor, and definitely the showrunner for that show, director of the show, wanted to. That's the tribute to DNA, Dino DNA from Jurassic Park.
That's awesome.
Oh, it's exactly. And I know that there are a couple designers in the 3D printing community that are currently designing different Miss Minutes models to print. And once they do, it's on, because I want a Miss Minutes on my wall that talks to me. That's all I want.
Yeah, I completely agree with both of you, and Bill, especially with the unexpectedness of the show. I think both with WandaVision, I kind of understood at the beginning of that show where it probably would end. It was going to be about grief. It was going to be this emotional journey for Wanda, and her character would change in that direction. Same with Falcon Winter Soldier. By the end, we all kind of expected he would be Captain America. But here, I don't know where this Loki ends, because this Loki is not the Loki that we all watched in the movies after the first Avengers film. So this Loki could go into the ether. It could be Tom Hiddleston's last hurrah in the character. And that unexpectedness, I think, is really exciting. Again, a lot of mystery. It's a fun mystery box of a show.
Well, and since we're just talking about the first episode, we can talk about that the scene where Loki was watching the films. Yes, that Mobius was showing to him. And I think that had to be the showrunner's way of sort of bringing that not the Loki that had gone through the redemption arc, but the Loki who was still the villain, and almost sort of take him through a bit of a virtual redemption arc. Because
catch him up, right?
It was like a catch up. His character caught up, but you could tell, like Tom Hiddleston, and he was showing some really great emotion in that scene, and just you could tell that changed that character.
But did it? So that's the question I had. Or were they trying to say because he was shown it, or he was told it and shown it, but didn't experience it? Did it connect with him truly, right? Or did he feel, or did his nature, kind of like how Nebula in Endgame, there was the Nebula who was told that she was going to be, redeemed and she was going to be free of Thanos, but at that point she wasn't emotionally, far along enough to break free. So I mean,
that makes sense.
It
that
leaves
makes a
up
lot
in
of
the
sense.
air a lot of opportunity for this Loki to surprise us, and again, not just be just replacing, standing in for the Loki that we saw die at the end of Infinity War or beginning of Infinity War.
So, and Norm, that's just to put out there, you have not seen Loki episode 2 yet, right?
Seen episode 2.
Okay, so this is not a spoiler, but I just want to let you know, if you enjoyed episode 1, you're really going to enjoy episode 2.
I'm very excited indeed.
I think that's fair. Bill, that's fair, right? That's a fair assessment.
Absolutely, yeah.
Awesome. Well, I think we're going to leave it at that. Thank you guys both for jumping into this Elseworlds, this what if episode.
This variant.
Yes. No, we're not using that word anymore. We're using the other parlance, the what if question mark.
That's right.
The what if, right? The Elseworlds version of the episode. It's been wonderful chatting with you guys both about your journeys and your channels. Of course, people can find Bill at Punish Props Academy and Chinbeard on Twitter, social media. And Joel, 3D Printing Nerd, is your YouTube channel, and I believe your social media handles. Is that right?
I've got them, but personally, I'm just at Joel Telling on the socials. Yeah, easy enough. Yeah.
Awesome. Please follow them, and we might have you guys back on at some point, maybe with the other crew, because I know they'd have other questions to pick your brains about.
It'd be a lot of fun. I'm totally up for it.
Yeah, we got to find. I mean, there's got to be Maker Fairs. We got to have Maker Fairs back so we can meet up again.
I think that was the last time the three of us were in the same room.
Probably.
Oh my gosh!
In fact, I was in Joel's room because I slept on the floor.
That's right. That's right. And it worked. It was brilliant.
And I appreciated that, Joel.
You slept on Joel's floor. You slept on my floor.
I have.
All right. Good evening, you guys. Thanks so much. Thank you all out there for listening, and we will see you next time. I thought I had some music queued up. I don't, so I'm going to edit it in post. But thanks for listening. Bye.
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 Hi there. I didn't see you.
Test it.
All right, let's talk about some pop culture news.
Ooh.
Need a music cue.
He's working on it.
I don't.
Getting there.
I didn't.
All right, we're here. We're here.
Hold on.
So close.
Pop culture. Pop culture. New. I don't. It's not in the thing.
All right, pop culture
All right,
news.
Pop culture news.
Pop culture.
Oh,
Nope, not that one.
We're way past it now.
I got it. I can do this.
Oh my goodness! You really? We're already talking about the topics. Wreck Ralph. Oh,
You should have given me all this power in one.
Test it.